anybody else coming in, so we'll go ahead and get started this afternoon. My name is David Buttery. I'm the city manager for the City of Woodland Park. We're going to have several presentations today from different folks on different components of the Aquatic Center. We're thrilled that you're here. Thanks for coming out. If we have an emergency in this room, of course, there's an exit behind you. There's one through that door right there and then one down the hall. Not expecting that, but tonight when we're overflowing, I want people to know how to get out of here should we have an emergency. I'm going to ask you to hold your questions until the very end. We are broadcasting this live. We're recording it so that if folks don't have a chance to see it live, they'll have a chance to go online. And in order for your voices to be picked up, we'll need to hand you a microphone. So if you can hold your questions until the end, we'll have plenty of time to answer those. My goal for today is to cause you to be as excited about this project as a lot of the city staff and the Woodland Aquatic Project folks have been for some time. We think we've created a pool and an aquatic center that the community will be extremely proud of, that will serve our citizens from 3 months old to 100 years old. That's our goal, is to have a facility that serves every aspect of our community. We'll look forward to your questions. We'll look forward to your feedback. This was promoted as the final concept design. Concept design in and of itself doesn't mean anything's final. This is the final concept that came to us from the architects. So there's always room for some minor changes, and there will be some minor changes. When Cindy and Jay start speaking of the pool itself, please understand that many of the components that you see are placeholders. The actual pool architect hasn't started working yet. We wanted to get what the building would look like, what the footprint would look like, and then we'll work closely on what the shape of all the components are. We think the components that you see will be the components that we'll have, but they may not be in that exact same shape. So don't get too hung up on where the lazy river is or the vortex or things like that. Termites? Somebody's late. They think they have to knock to come in. Yeah, thanks, Cindy. Okay, with that, I'd like to introduce Jerry Simon, who is the Woodland Aquatic Project Board of Directors President. And then I'll come back in a second or two.
Well, thanks everybody for coming here today. Can you hear me? We're really excited about what Dave and his team have been able to put together. We've been working on this, depending on who you ask, for many, many years. Let me tell you what we're going to try to do before we get into the design, or what our goals are for the design. And all along it's been to improve the health and well-being of Woodland Park, to improve the economic vitality of Woodland Park, to make Woodland Park a more family-friendly community again, and to help bring Woodland Park to the next level. Health and well-being is one of the key things here. The two biggest communities, obviously, the Aquatic Center is going to meet, are the youth community and the elderly community. Those are the folks who can't necessarily get out hiking, running, biking, but those are the people who need swimming for safety reasons. They need swimming for physical activity. There are several folks in our community who can't get or aerobic exercise any other way other than swimming. So this is something that we're really looking forward for them. For our handicapped community, we've talked to disabled vets, some people who have recently had surgery, who this is how they get their exercise. And right now they're driving up and down the pass to do that. So I'm not going to bore you with the details. I'm assuming most of you people are here because you're interested in the pool, so I don't have to sell you on that concept.
Thanks, Jerry. Sure. Thank you very much. And thank you for posing for our picture, Jerry, for the we appreciate that immensely. Yeah, and if you're a citizen of the City of Woodland Park, thanks for voting yes, back in November, to allow us to have a faith in the community to borrow the money to build the facility. That's huge. Jessica, why don't you kill the lights? I want to give you a quick orientation as to location of the Aquatic Center, and then Jay and Cindy are actually going to start talking about the components of the building itself. Here's I'll try to point it out. Kenny, can you see that from where you are? Okay, thank you. This is the Aquatic Center. Please don't get hung up on the parking lot that's shown here. It really is just intended as a placeholder. We want to make sure that the building is in the right place before we worry about the infrastructure that supports it. For point of reference, at the upper edge here is Highway 24. This is Center Street. The Cowhand is right here. How Two-Store Park, Vector Bank, and of course, West Street. So the placement of the facility takes advantage of the downhill slope coming down Center with Pikes Peak in the background. So if you can imagine that, or if you can't imagine it, when you leave here, drive to Center Street, go south past the How To store, and just imagine that the things that you're going to see today, that will be positioned right there. For those of you that are familiar with this plot of land, you know that Fountain Creek flows from the Gold Hill Shopping Center and points west through an underground culvert and turns and open channels across the property at a diagonal. State Water Quality and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers had to be involved in this because, believe it or not, these are considered jurisdictional waters for the Corps of Engineers because, and State Water Quality, not because this is a fish habitat, but because the ground around here and the grasses around here generate the bugs that the fish eat downstream. So there were, at one point we thought we were going to put this whole thing underground and build on top of it. They won't allow us to do that because they are jurisdictional waters. They have that authority. But they will allow us to turn it and run it down the westerly edge of the property and then turn east along the southerly edge of the property. That will also allow us to build some detention facilities that will be required. So that's the location, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jay and Cindy to talk about the design and the features.
Thanks, Dave.
Stand over there.
Okay. I hope my voice lasts. I've got a little cold, but I feel good except for that. My name's Jay Kinsman. I'm the head of the design committee on the board. I joined the board in November this past year. There had already been a tremendous amount of groundwork done by previous board members, present board members, arriving at a design that was presented in October that was kind of looked like that one, except things were arranged differently, but all colors and everything. And the last 6 months since then has involved hours and hours of meetings and phone calls with people from USA Swimming, swim coaches, the Olympic Training Center, pool folks, YMCA, I made some calls there, all gathering information and adjusting that to what we think would be a good aquatic center for the community. What I want to do is just really, in a fairly cut and dry way, go through what you see. Can we get the...
Just hit the space bar on the keyboard. The space bar on the keyboard.
There we go. In a cut and dry way, what's going to be there, and then Cindy's going to comment on programming and how that interacts with the facility. So there's going to be 4 bodies of water. We're going to have a 6-lane lap pool, 25 yards long. It will meet USA Swimming, which is the national governing body for swimming in this country, and which is based in Colorado Springs. It will meet their guidelines for competitions. It will meet Colorado High School Athletic Activities Association standards. Roughly 4 feet deep in the shallow end, 12 feet to 13 feet in the deep end. Initially, probably 1 diving board with the potential to easily add a 2nd diving board for competitions. This will be the coolest body of water. The temperature of a couple of these is going to be sort of up in the air and will be decided by programming, by the community, by the pool director, and is not cast in stone at this point by any means. Second large body of water has been referred to as a leisure pool. USA Swimming likes to call them the recreation pool. It will have a 0 entry area where you just walk in and it starts that deep, just like a beach. It will have a lazy river. It will probably have a vortex or whirlpool, which I'm sure the lifeguards love, because I've been to those with my kids, and it's like a rugby scrum. And one addition from the November or October previous iteration of this is 2 warm water lap lanes that will be probably 20 yards long, not quite as long as the other, but adequate for some warm water lap swimming. This pool will be a few degrees warmer than that pool, somewhere in the mid-80s, 85, 86. Again, that's going to be subject to programming and what people tell the pool director they want. There will be some play features, probably some fountains, like mushrooms that spray water out, sprayers that kids can use, potentially maybe even a fort with sprayers and maybe a little small slide, although I think that may be up in the air, and that brings up issues like lifeguards and sight lines being able to see across the pool. So that's the second big body of water. Another one that was added, a third body of water that was added since October, would be an aquatic therapy pool, roughly 15 feet by 25 feet, for in-water aquatic physical therapy, such as one-on-one with a physical therapist and a patient. And it can have some other uses, and Cindy will speak to that in a bit. It will be even warmer, probably 91 to 92 degrees. It will have step entry with 4-inch steps. It will have handrails along the steps and handrails probably around 3 walls. And I think those generally are sort of right at water levels, maybe even slightly below. And it will have one built-in bench along one wall. We don't know which wall yet, but it will be just built in so someone can sit in the water comfortably and probably up to there. Fourth body of water will be a spa or a hot tub, typical hot tub temperature, and out on the sun deck. It will be outdoors. That's facing south, so the view from there will be toward Pikes Peak. Roman numeral 2, toys. There will be a water slide, and that's, as Dave said, that's really a placeholder now. That configuration may change. And we don't know if it will be a run out into a trough or if it might potentially splash down into one of the bodies of water. That's still one of the things we need to decide once we get the water engineering company thoroughly involved. There will be a climbing wall. It will probably be portable, and it has to have a certain depth. It will overhang to some degree, overhang the water, so it probably would be moved into place when it's used near the deep end or at the deep end of the lap pool. And potentially in the future, a projection movie screen, so there could be like a family fun night on a Friday or Saturday where there will be a movie screen where people can sit in the stands and kids can play in the pool while a movie's being shown. Excuse me. Then on to other spaces. Locker rooms, men's and women's. The prior iteration had direct exit from one locker room right through there and the other one right through there. The architect kind of changed it, and that's certainly not cut in stone, and we'll have some discussions about that with the architect and what works most efficiently. There will be 6 cabanas or family changing areas that will have a shower and a bathroom located down there. One of those will be a little bigger and may double as a physical therapy room if a physical therapist wants to work with a patient on a table in a dry environment for a little bit of time. Bleachers, we've asked for bleacher seating for about 200 for swim meets. Fixed bleachers along the east side, rollaway or portable bleachers that could go along the west side of the pool. Probably will have a separate entrance at that end of the lap pool for spectators during swim meets, and it may be locked at other times. Maybe a separate toilet there. There will be a party room, and yes, the architects have designed it as round. They find that something kids like, something that's a lot of fun. It will have glass walls, not curved glass, but flat panels. It will have a retractable wall divider, so it could be made into 2 semicircle rooms or 1 large room, each side with a sink and a small counter. There will be a child watch room. Here's the entry. I guess I could have started there, but parking lot, entry of some sort there. Child watch room, administration area, lifeguard room, and that's some features of that are still in flux as far as simple lockers, showers, etc., but there will be a lifeguard room for them to take a break in. Probably a pool manager, the actual pool manager, sort of the engineering type, will have their own small office. and a few other features, and they'll be done. There will be glass walls between the cabana hallway and the leisure pool, so you can see into the leisure pool area. Lots of glass on the south side of the building, and hopefully with a garage door sort of function to where in warm weather the glass panels can be opened and it will feel like a more open-air facility. A fireplace in the lobby somewhere. Vending machines, possibly just there, possibly a couple in the deck area, we don't know. And then obviously mechanical facilities for filtration and heating, and pool storage for equipment, for lane dividers, for meat timing equipment, for big floaty things, for everything you need to store for a pool. Most of these things will be there when the building opens. Will all of them be there? Maybe, maybe not. That depends on a number of variables. There may be things like the spa and the slide that may not be there the day we open. There may be plug-ins that come in later, a few months, a year. It depends on a lot of factors. But this is sort of a general schematic, and with that, I'll turn it over to Cindy.
Hi, I'm Cindy. I'm the Parks and Recreation Director, and I'm really excited about this facility. Been attending a lot of training and getting some great ideas on programming, so I wanted to share just a little bit with you of some ideas that we have for each body of water. It seems to be pretty important that every body of water can have some type of programming in it, and I believe this plan has achieved that goal. One thing I would like to encourage you to do, I did leave a little trail of my business cards, but I picked them up. I'm going to put them in the back, and if you guys have any great ideas that you'd like to see using these types of bodies of water for programming, I welcome your ideas, so please pick up one of my cards and shoot me an email or give me a call and give me your ideas. The first pool that Jay covered was the lap pool, and that seems to be an obvious definition of what that pool is for. Absolutely, it's for swimming laps. It's for the swim team for training and meets. It's also for the competitive swimmers, such as the masters. It can also be used for triathlons and those type of trainings, but we also can use it for water sports, such as basketball and volleyball and water running and things like that. Kayak and scuba instructions, those type of things. When you have the deeper ended pool, you can start doing some of the scuba training in there as well. That would be a place that we could do movie night, bring in the inflatable toys, those types of things. When you get into the leisure pool, that's where you can get into your vertical and horizontal fitness training. You can also offer your Learn to Swim programs there, safety programs and trainings for our fire departments and EMS. And then just in general, open play for the community. The therapy pool, I mean, that seems like it has a specific purpose to it, but it can be used for multiple uses as well. For the first-time swimmers or the little guys, for just water acclimation, so they're not getting in nice warm water. It's a controlled space. They can get in there with their parents and those type of things. The spa, you know, that's just a recreational use. It's not really going to be a programmable body of water, but it would absolutely be a benefit to the facility. The party rooms can be used for multiple purposes. We can use one side of the party rooms for team meetings if there's a team meet going on. We could open it up for a large community meeting. We can break it up for 2 different birthday parties or graduation parties or so on. And let's see. Absolutely using that for a meeting room. The vending machine, we absolutely want to be able to be offering a vending opportunity for the users at the facility. And we've discussed allowing vending on the deck area, but probably in a designated area just so we can keep the deck area nice and clean of debris, of any kind of leftover debris. One of the things that you'll see by the admin office is a WD. That's a washer and dryer. That's not just for our staff, but that would be something that a service that we'll be offering is we'll be actually renting out towels along those lines as well. So we're looking to program this facility and hopefully someday have it support itself in entirety. That is the ultimate goal. And with that, I guess I will pass this back over to David.
Thanks, Cindy. Let me just point out a couple of other things, or highlight a couple of things that I think the architects did very well. Some of you may question, why are the locker rooms separate from the cabanas? And I think it's because there's two very different types of users. Folks that will be using the locker rooms are going to be teams that are coming in to swim in the lap pool, or folks who are coming intentionally to swim laps. So the proximity here makes a ton of sense. Families, on the other hand, will probably be coming to the cabanas, and cabanas is the new architectural term for family changing room. We're not going to have mariachi bands out here playing, but the cabanas will have lockers, and so folks can use the cabanas with their little ones, store their equipment, come in through that door, and remember, this is where Jay said the zero entry was. So the little munchkins can run straight into the water without parents fearing that they're just going to jump into the pool. So that orientation makes a ton of sense. There's tons of
Lockers, I didn't point out those are lockers there.
Yeah, these are all lockers, and they're maybe stomach high, chest high, which leads me to my next point. There's just a ton of glass in this area for transparency, if you will. Looking across this from the cabana area into this leisure pool area, this will be glass. Cindy already mentioned that the party room is surrounded by glass. This is glass here. There may be some knee walls, but there's just going to be great opportunity for energy and visibility around the entire thing. Also around the therapy pool. When it's being used as a therapy pool, there'll be curtains, something to allow privacy, but when that doesn't happen, we can open that up for lifeguards to have visibility within this area as well. The round party rooms didn't appeal to us initially, but as we thought about it and saw them in practice, they made a ton of sense. They act as a little bit of a funnel from this area into here. They also provide good visibility from the admin desk through this area into here, and then down into here. So they grew on us. This part by the entry wall, this is something I hope you're all going to be interested in. That's where we'll have our trophies once the high school starts winning a bunch of swim meets. It's also where we're going to have a donor wall, and Steve Jellerslow is going to talk to you about that in just a second. When you have time after the discussion, if you want to come look at all of these, the earlier iteration from the earlier community meetings are right behind these particular posters. So if you want to compare what you saw earlier to what we're proposing now, they're right there. Let's take a look real quick at what it's going to look like from an exterior perspective. We believe that we have an obligation to provide to the community a facility that's in keeping with our high architectural standards. We don't know exactly what these materials are going to be like. This is in the concept design stage. We still have to go to schematic design and design development, and then finally the construction drawings. But it's this look that we're going for. Lots of glass, natural stone, natural earth tone colors. So I don't know if that's going to be a steel roof or concrete roof. Don't know what that's going to look like yet. But we know we want it to have this general feel. This is what you will see when you turn down Center Street and head south. So imagine, if you will, Pikes Peak in the background here. This is the east elevation. So this is if you are on Park Street looking to the west. This is what you will see. The south elevation, it's this wall that faces Pikes Peak. These windows and glass, that's what's adjacent to the leisure pool area. So we're going to have the opportunity to bring our great outdoors indoors with all of this glass. You'll notice that this roof line pitches up. You see it right here, it pitches up, so that even folks that are way back over in here in this part of the pool area have a line of sight outside of the building, again, to bring that great outdoors inside. This is the area that's the therapy pool, and of course there's the outdoor slide. We're hoping that this outdoor slide can be made of material that is either translucent or transparent. How cool would it be to be sliding down this thing in the middle of a snowstorm? Plus they say if it's completely opaque, I don't know how they do it, but teenagers can actually get stuck in there, you know, and do all kinds of nefarious things. This is the west elevation. This is the side view of the entryway. This is yet another view, a bit more of a perspective view coming down Center. If you think about it, Center Street is elevated at Highway 24, and you drive downhill towards this, so you'll see a little bit of the roof line. That's from the southeast. And again, you can see the deck. One of the things that's a little bit misleading in these drawings is this ground. Most of you know that that ground slopes gently to the south. We don't know exactly the elevation that this is going to be built on. Is it going to be 2 feet above the roadway or 2 feet below the roadway? What I do know is we'll be very careful because we want to ensure that there still is a good view of Pikes Peak from this deck and from inside of the pool area. This is the view from northwest, or if you're at Vectra Bank, for example. This is the entryway covered. There's an opportunity to place along this flat roof here on top of the pool solar panels for preheating the water, not photovoltaic, but they will preheat the water. There could be an opportunity on another sloped roof to do the same thing. And with that, we'll flip on the lights, and I'll talk to you a little bit about what I think is the most probable schedule associated with this. We've hired an engineer to do some of the infrastructure design. Recall that as part of this project, we're going to have to build Saddle Club Drive to a degree. We're going to have to take care of that drainage that I pointed out to you with Fountain Creek. We're going to have to put in water and sewer and electric and sidewalks and lamps and all of those kinds of things. So we're moving forward with that design process with a firm that is the engineer with also the architect that has done the work for us creating this design. I think that's the first work that you will see is the work associated with the infrastructure. Possibly that could begin in the fall. We still have a lot of design work to do. It's my full expectation that we will begin construction on the pool itself in about a year from now, based on design process, awarding a contract, and our winter weather. We could start a little earlier perhaps, but those costs are significantly more expensive when you begin trying to do a lot of excavation in the middle of the winter time. It's probably a 13 to 15 month construction project for the building itself, so I would suspect that in about 2 years we'll be smelling chlorine in the swimming pool. With that, I'm going to ask Cindy to come up and MC question and answer time period. We've still got lots of time for your questions and answers, and we're probably just going to pass the microphones around and let whoever's best qualified to answer the question, answer the question. So with that, questions?
So as David said earlier, no questions?
Okay. Robin?
I've been to 2 different aquatic centers like this, the one in Breckenridge and the one in Keystone, and they both have a steam room, which is very appealing. Is there any possibility of having one of those? It's in kind of that cabana area, and the one in Breckenridge, I think. And is there any possibility of having something like that?
In this part of our design, we have not incorporated a steam room. Can't say that that's not something that could be added. Just know that every time we add another amenity, to the facility as well. And so we do have a come on up, Jane, or grab a microphone.
Yeah, it's not that we haven't thought of a steam room or a sauna. It's just what she said, you know, we had space and budget considerations. And if when things meet, we get down to the architects and costs, if they say, oh, you can do whatever you want, we'll do it, but probably maybe not at this stage.
Good idea, though.
I have a question concerning the chlorine environment that you smell. Is there going to be a retractable roof? You know, what are the thoughts on that?
So the design firm is bringing in WTI, and I can't remember. WaterTech. They're one of the preeminent water architectural firms in the country, and so one of their responsibilities will be the HVAC considerations, including ventilation.
I can't imagine that we're going to have a retractable roof. I think there will be quite a bit of opportunity for ventilation, but chlorine, we may not be using a chlorination system, so we're still exploring that. We could use a UV process. I understand about the smell and the eyes burning and all of that, but technologies have changed over the years, and we hope to take advantage of those.
One additional thought is we are still considering garage doors on the south side, which we could open in the nice weather.
Yeah, that's true, and that's for the leisure pool area, which wouldn't have that much of an effect on the lap pool. What we know we're going to be able to do is to isolate the lap pool from the leisure pool for noise control and for temperature control, because we have two bodies of water, two different temperatures, two different uses. So when a meet's going on, we still want families to enjoy the leisure pool without having to hear all the teams screaming during a meet, and vice versa. We want families to be able to enjoy the leisure pool while the screaming is going on and all of that. Not vice versa. I said the same thing twice, didn't I? But you know what I meant. Can we edit that out of the live broadcast? Is there a 10-second delay? What other questions?
I was wondering, since you have the lap pool and you are talking about having meets and teams and stuff in there, of all the pools that I've ever been in, swimming competitive for a very long time, the size of those showers in the locker rooms are incredibly small if you're talking about just two teams, two high school teams, with at least 20 to 30 people on each team coming in after school to swim a meet, and then 60 people trying to take a shower afterwards. I understand the size thing. A lot of the showers that we've been in at different pools, they have the shower trees in the middle of the locker room so that they can put in more showers in a smaller amount of space. If that's a consideration, that would help at all. And also one other question, is this going to, the design of the pool, is this going to be a waveless pool with the deck and water same level, or is this going to step up?
We don't know the answer to the second question. We haven't gotten that far with the pool designer yet. As far as, Jay, you want to handle the first one?
Sure. Certainly I'm not an expert in this arena. One of the people we've met with extensively is the Director of Facilities Development for USA Swimming. And I think we have to trust to some extent as we move toward the final design. I mean, that's what they do, USA Swimming, and that the locker room space, in their view, will be adequate for meets. That's really about all I can say about that. I don't have any specific knowledge about square footage. Specifically about like gang showers, I think they're called. Apparently those are not, they're not really acceptable anymore for whatever reason. That is just not part of pool design. Even though we grew up with that in locker rooms in high school. I mean, I think you meant the multiple spigots.
No, it's literally like this. In the middle of say a 20 by 20 room, there's 4 or 5 of these, and they each one have 4 shower heads coming off. So instead of having a wall space around where you're constricted by however many showers, the tree itself has 4 shower heads on it, and they have, the one in Portland is only, I think, 5 years old now. And that's the shower configuration that they have there, and they can fit. I was just at a Masters of State Championships 2 months ago, and I think there was probably 30 guys in there at one time, and it just, because it was over 400 swimmers at this meet. So if this is going to be a big-time competitive part of the competitive swimming, then it would help for all those people. I mean, if you're talking master swimming or any kind of state event where there's more than just 2 teams, there's going to be a lot of people in there after one time when the meet's over.
Okay, you noted.
Your comment is appreciated, and we will take it back when we have further discussions. When the 4 showers with walls and dividers, or not, for privacy.
It's like a 20 by 20 room with 5 trees in there, so.
Sure, and we grew up with that swimming, and there are places that have that, but per Nick Nelson from USA Swimming, that is just not kosher anymore for whatever reason. That is not part of pool or locker room designs anymore.
The principle is to make sure we have adequate shower space.
Right.
We'll struggle with the technique. Okay. Other questions?
I was curious if you had decided yet on the technology for construction. You know, I'm a fan of MOFA technology, so have you had any further discussions? I know it's still early on. I'm just kind of curious what your thinking is at this point regarding those technologies.
I'll take that. We've heard nothing but good things about MOFA pools, but we want to get WTI involved in the process. They apparently have a lot of experience with different pool treatments and hear what their views are.
What else? What other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about bathrooms. I know that was part of the initial discussion. So each of the cabanas has a toilet in them?
Yes.
A bathroom in it? And then what about like the child care area, and if you have parties and all the other space, is there a centrally located restroom?
It's a very good question, and there's not, but that's one of the notes I've made on the design. So if I could, Cindy, could you back up actually 6 or 7 slides?
So you just use the arrow?
Yeah, there you go. Have this. Okay, from the restroom perspective, there are restrooms, toilets, if you will, and showers in each of the cabanas. There's toilets and showers in the locker rooms. There's a restroom here that's primarily intended for the child care area. One of the suggestions that came to me yesterday from a gentleman who has 6 kids and one on the way who couldn't be here today was, actually it came from his 9-year-old daughter. Put a restroom here, somewhere on this deck, so that when parents are watching 2 or 3 kids and one needs to go to the bathroom, they can just go to a corner, not, an enclosed corner. Yeah, and actually then the response was, well, maybe that will keep the water cleaner if there's a nearby bathroom. That makes a ton of sense. So we're also thinking, and Kenny, this doesn't address your final shower of the day, but perhaps a couple of showers on the deck. In case a little munchkin sneaks in and they're totally dry, the rules are always shower off before you jump in the pool. So we can actually have a couple on the deck here. It wouldn't be for that final, I'm going home, watch the hair curl and all that. But perhaps there would be a place here for both a bathroom and a rinse-off shower. But I still think one of the things we may need to look at is a restroom in this facility, in this area. Maybe. It may be that we decide that this is close enough. Other questions, comments? Love to hear your comments, too.
I have a question about the 6-lane lap pool. Can you remind me the depth on the diving block side?
12 to 13.
Okay, so with those depths, that's sufficient for diving in. Is there at all consideration for programs to have a water polo team locally?
Possibly. If there's a demand in our community for something like that, sure.
Can't do it.
What's the depth for water polo?
It needs to be a minimum of 12 feet.
12 feet.
And what's the size of the playing surface?
25 yards minimum,
Oh, well then I would say,
with goals on either end. The other thing that came to mind looking at that visual is that even in a traditional, and you can help me with this, sir, two-team competition, if with 6 lanes, usually you have a separate warm-up and cool-down pool, or a separate, designated, these are 2 lanes where the competitors are warming up, cooling down after they race. I don't see how that's going to be doable with only 6 lanes, especially if it's a larger meet.
I understand the operational requirement. My daughter swam 6 years competitively. The vast majority of pools that we went to were 6 lanes that didn't have warm-up laps. But for me, I'm the guy that's responsible for the budget. I can't afford to add 2 more lanes. Perhaps it's a programming issue that Cindy will be responsible for that isolates this area for the warm-up and the cool-down during meet time, which would still allow the munchkins and their parents to play in the leisure area. So that's kind of a programming, scheduling challenge. But what I can tell you is that unless we get some, if you'd like to, donate $600,000 or so, we'll add those 2 lanes, and I'll name them after you. That's kind of where the vision and the dream turns into a reality, because I have to write the checks. I've got an allowance, just like your family has an allowance, and adding 2 lanes, I can tell you, would exceed my allowance.
You got one to put half lanes on each side.
I don't know.
A lot of the
Here, Kenny, I let you get away with it last time.
A lot of competition pools nowadays have on either side, on the outside edge of either lane, on the 2 outside lanes, they have a half lane.
Yes.
So there's a lane line that goes, it's about 2 feet away from the wall, so that every lane has lane line and not just the middle lanes, where the 2 outside lanes would just have a wall. So they have half lanes on the 2 outsides, and they use them for warm-up lanes, if anybody could come up with an extra lane.
Again, it's a money thing at this time. CHASA, the High School Sports Swimming Association, their ideal pool is 8 lanes. So they do have those extra lanes. It also buffers the wake or something like that. It makes it smoother water for the competitive swimmers. What else?
So just a quick comment on the water polo. One of our board members actually swam water polo competitively, collegiate level. Love to see it, but our real constraint is the shallow, the 4 foot on one side of that lap lane pool.
Yep.
And Amy has a question, and Patrick.
I just want to say thanks again to everybody for the hard work, and I've been at all the previous meetings, I believe. You guys really took all the comments that kept coming up over and over, trying to tweak it and tweak it. I know it's going to be tweaked some more, but it's come a long way from, I think, the last rendition drawing that we all saw, and trying to accommodate, it can't be perfect for everybody, get that, so, but I think it's looking good, so good work.
Thanks, Amy.
Yep.
Patrick?
Testing. One quick question. As you know, one of the main concerns, it's probably the number 1 concern with the water. Having managed a couple of scenarios, one thing I found, and talked about this already, you have a whole bunch of people coming in from outside, especially if you have a meet, gets in the locker room, then it gets on the floor, which tends to make the pools dirty. Have you considered how to control that?
That is one thing that we have talked about briefly, Patrick. The entrance to the lap pool on the east side of the building, we would have the concrete walkway and then that specific entryway to be able to help clean off of those shoes as they come into the lap pool as a spectator. We're hoping through the lobby area, using the cabanas and the locker rooms, that we can eliminate at least our users tracking in anything onto the deck area. But that's one of the main reasons why we added that additional entry for the lap pool, was for when we had competitions there and the public coming in just to watch and not actually using the locker rooms or the cabanas.
So one of the things, in our research, we're told to plan for up to 200 spectators. And I said, really, for 6 lanes? But that's reality. So I think with 200 people coming in and out during mud season, there's going to be some dirt that gets into the pool.
And in this area above the main entry, Patrick, to answer your question, yes, we've thought about it. Do we know how we're going to solve it? Not yet. We think that'll come out in future iterations of this, but perhaps we extend this entry so there's a little bit larger lobby, a place to knock shoes off. We do know that as the stuff is tracked in, one of the concerns is people changing here, and then they walk to the cabanas in their bare feet, maybe picking up stuff that's on here, and then they walk in here. So maybe there's grates at this entryway. I'm not sure, but it's something that we will absolutely consider. Jared, would you hand?
The one thing we got.
Up to Bob.
Okay. I just wanted to give you guys kudos too. I know this is a difficult process, single floor plan design. You guys do have some areas, you can expand later, and trying to fit all the needs of the community into kind of a one size is tough, and a lot of the pools being built nowadays don't have a dive well or diving boards just for risk and insurance purposes. So it's nice to see those in there as well. So,
Jason, tell us what you do.
I work with pools sometimes.
Okay, that's good enough. If you can hand that up to Bob, please.
Thank you. Yes, so just to continue on the discussion, especially in Europe, this area here, for instance, would have that pool, maybe 4-inch deep water that you have to walk through to get into the pool area. But that's also where they have the showers. Earlier you talked about having showers kind of around, but that's where you need it before the people go into the pool. That's their last chance to get a shower before going into there. So that would be the best place to put it, right there.
Okay, thank you. What other questions or comments?
Oh, I did have one comment on what you said about the steam room. We visited a lot of pools, and they pretty unanimously said steam rooms are very high maintenance. They would prefer a dry heat. So if you're willing to accept dry heat, that would be perhaps a better solution.
So earlier you mentioned the wall where you first come in. Yeah, the trophy wall. Is there also a donor wall or something along those lines that you were going to touch on?
It would double.
And how are donations looking?
Abysmal at this point, but Steve's going to talk about that.
I'm curious with the diving boards up there, and with that end being the deep end of the pool, and that's the only end you can put starting blocks on, what do you do with the diving boards during the meet?
Tip them up.
How do they do that?
I don't know if all the meets I'm into, they
just push them right up?
Yeah.
And so the answer to that question for our recording is tip it up.
Thank you.
Hearing that you're already working with USA Swimming and other consulting agencies, you probably have this covered, but have they given consideration to display walls for like a time board, electronic timing board, and pool records, high school records, that kind of thing?
I've been told yes.
See where my pointer is, up in that area perhaps. Right.
All right. So I know this is like the second best moment that you were all waiting for, and that's Steve and our donor and naming opportunities. Steve?
Thanks, Cindy. I'm Steve Jellislow. I'm also on the Woodland Aquatic Project Board. There are 6 of our board members here for this meeting. First of all, I want to repeat what David said. I want to thank all the voters for their
very strong vote of approval. Last November, we had a 70% approval rating, which was almost exactly the reversal of the previous vote of a couple of years earlier. So it was a fight worth taking on, and I'm grateful for the electorate here in Woodland Park for approving the initiative. I also want to thank David Buttery, Cindy, and staff for their outstanding participation and activism in this matter. They've been working with Jerry Simon and Jay Kinsman on almost a daily basis to get the design to this stage and future stages. I don't think we could have possibly asked for better cooperation and enthusiasm from David Buttery and the city staff. So thank you so much for everything you guys have done to date. And now we talk about money. David mentioned it briefly before, and I want to kind of head off any potential question. Why are we considering fundraising? Yes, the city has the money and has the bonding capacity to build an essential facility, one that will meet the needs of the vast majority of our citizens of all ages. But as you have seen, for those of you who have followed the design concept, and has been pointed out a couple times now today, it has evolved. It has matured. It's not done yet, but it's getting close. And there are more features in it now than were originally envisioned when Pete Peters and I were speaking to groups all over the county about what we thought this would look like. It's better. It's much better. We do have to be careful about mission creep. You know, I've been involved in many construction projects over the years, and you start out with 2 bathrooms for your home and you end up with 4. We have to be careful about that. But within the confines of the city's budget and our excellent bonding capacity, we're trying to fit in as many amenities and features as we can to appeal to the majority of our citizens. Some of those features are definitely within the budgetary constraints that David has to live with every day. Some of them currently are not. And that's where the fundraising campaign kicks in. And it's going to take two different but related modes to try to gain additional funding to make this the most robust facility that we can all use and that we can all afford. One will be individual donations. Much like the hospital had 1,100 separate donors, including many of us in this room and many other corporations. And that's a for-profit enterprise. This is a municipal enterprise assisted by the Woodland Aquatic Project Board, which is a nonprofit. But yet 1,100 of us 10 years ago stood up and said, count me in. I want a hospital, and I'll pay my $10. Or my $50, or my $100, or more. Thank goodness a lot of the large corporations around here donated into 6 figures. And now we have a gorgeous hospital facility, which is benefiting all of Teller County and this greater region. People donated to the library, which has its own separate tax base. Individuals have donated to the Woodland Pavilion on an individual basis. So this is another one of those many projects that will substantially improve the quality of life for all of us. So we believe that we, the board, and David and his staff believe that this is a worthy objective of individual donations. And thanks to Jerry Simon, our president, who is also doubles as our computer guru, we now have a live site where you can donate whatever you're comfortable donating electronically. And the site is, and we will be publishing this, woodlandaquaticproject.org/contribute/. If you go to the Woodland Aquatic Project website, it'll give you a hot link to the donation website. It is live, so you can start donating today whatever amount you're comfortable with. The other aspect of donations will be grantors and corporations and nonprofit institutions, both here in Teller County and in El Paso County and statewide. And frankly, if we can get the National Arthritis Foundation, which is a national organization, we'll go after them as well. But we have a group of 5 of us who are on the fundraising committee, And we will be, along with David and Neil Levy, who was here earlier, we will be actively pursuing these major foundations whose names you've no doubt heard of, like El Pomar and others, as well as grantors who will help us, who specialize in pools or overall medical well-being, fitness, etc. So those are the two forks of our donation capital campaign. Now, you may ask for the larger donations, what would be soliciting funds for? And David has come up with a tentative list. This will change depending upon, well, the amenities and features that we end up. The final architect-engineer rendition will dictate where we think extra funding would come in very, very handy. Here are some examples. And you should know that in some cases, usually the lower dollar value ones, we would expect 100% donation for whether it be a naming opportunity or some other form of recognition. And as we all know, naming opportunities have become a very big thing in all kinds of athletic events across the country. With regard to the larger dollar value items, we would be looking for anywhere from 1/3 to 1/2 of the actual cash value of that item to be donated in order for a company or an individual, generous individual donor to get naming rights. But here are some examples of where we'll be soliciting money in probably, by and large, in the bigger amounts. A baby changing station, bleachers, an Americans with Disabilities Act lift for the lap pool, the fireplace that David mentioned earlier, diving board, we're projecting 2 right now. I think David has it in his budget for 1, but a second one for competition would be mighty, mighty helpful. A scoreboard that was inquired about earlier. Spray pool and toys to make it more attractive for the kiddies. The spa, which we hope will become part of the essential design, but we'll see when it all plays out and we get actual bids late this year. The leisure pool, we hope that will become an essential part, essential feature regardless, but if someone wants naming rights, we will accommodate them. By the way, the estimated value of the leisure pool is almost $800,000. It's a tidy sum of money. The currently projected donation for that would be roughly 1/3 of that. Also a very tidy sum of money. The lap pool, naming rights for that. Current estimates about $940,000. If a company wanted naming rights for that or an individual, it would roughly run about 1/3 of that. So I went basically from the baby changing station at less than $500 all the way up to the lap pool. So there's a lot of variation in between there, and these figures are only estimates. Climbing wall, David, it wasn't on your list, but I believe that would be a suitable candidate.
Absolutely. If there's something that you would have a passion to contribute towards that's not on that list, we would certainly work with you to figure out what that would be. We have a process for determining the value based on the estimates. That list is so small because we don't have yet the full estimates of all the different components. We'll flesh that out. But if you want to donate a urinal, for goodness sakes, we'll help you do that.
Where's Ernest Hemingway when you need him, right?
All the furniture in the lounge, for instance, you could donate a couch.
Yeah, couches, tables. In the lobby area, we hope to be able to afford Wi-Fi. That would be another suitable opportunity for donations. Contribute toward the wiring for the Wi-Fi. Flagpole, benches, bike racks, trees, landscaping, the warm water therapy pool. The list will be finalized, I assume, by year's end. But as David said, we will take donations in any amount for any purpose whatsoever, naming rights, blank donations, donations for a particular purpose, whatever it may be. Now, we are not yet at the point of having actual fundraising activities, but that's always a possibility. We'll be advertising that in the Courier Review and elsewhere as well. So we hope to have it as successful a fundraising campaign as the hospital did. I mean, that's, to me, the benchmark against which we all measure ourselves to be as successful as the hospital was. And I have been in touch with some of the good folks who were major players in that fundraising effort 10 years ago. And like I said, I hope we're hopefully as successful as they were, but we're going to aim for as good as we can get with the help of everyone here, everyone watching on cable, the folks who attend tonight, and everyone else who's potentially involved in this. Any questions?
Hey, great job, Steve. A couple things to add. On our website, you can contribute either via electronically, PayPal is what we're using, or you can write a check, which would go to our P.O. box, and we handle it appropriately. PayPal, of course, does take a little slice, so we'd probably prefer check. We did get the nonprofit status on PayPal, so we have the minimum tax on that as possible. We're also looking shortly to set up a crowdfunding site, so that'll also be linked to our website. One other comment, we talked entirely about capital campaign, but if you wanted to contribute for long-term, we, the Woodland Aquatic Project, want to be around as an entity to help hardship cases, so people who can't afford the membership otherwise, we can help them out with that. So if you wanted to contribute to capital campaign, that's fine. If you want to contribute to an endowment fund that we can help those hardship cases, that's also fine.
There's two things also to recognize on donating. Steve mentioned the physical components. If you decide you just want to make a general donation, we are going to have a donor wall at different levels. To get recognized on the donor wall, we've decided that a $100 donation is the minimum to get on that donor wall. If you decide you're going to buy the large slide, we'll put your name on that and we'll put your name on the donor wall. You can either give to the Woodland Aquatic Project, they're a 501c3, or to the City of Woodland Park. Some entities prefer one versus the other, so we've given opportunities for both. Both will give you a tax benefit. Steve?
Good point. Yeah, we intend to have a donor wall probably very similar to what the hospital has, to give recognition to everyone who's donated $100 or more. And Jerry, your point, very, very well taken, because that was one of our thoughts earlier. For families, for example, that have a disabled child and they'd like to have an annual membership but they can't afford it, we are going to be appealing to, well, not only our citizenry, but also various foundations for the scholarships for families in need who really have the need, not just for recreation, but to give their disabled child an opportunity to enjoy weightless exercise, which he or she would not otherwise be able to afford. A very big appeal to our handicapped community. And we want this pool to be used by all of us, every one of us, and for those people who can't afford it, that's where these scholarships that Jerry mentioned might kick in. So if you have a rich uncle with a deep pocket, please, or aunt for that matter, please contact them. We will take money for any and all of the purposes mentioned and any other ones that we come up with. Any other questions about doing it? Yes, sir.
I just want to make a comment.
Again, because thank you. I know we're all looking at a lot of amenities we'd like to have and things like that, but looking up there, I know that the Americans with Disabilities Act is going to want to lift at each pool. Mm-hmm. So even one of the, the portable lifts are $2,500 a piece on the low end, and I've learned that portable doesn't mean you can move them around, so you really have to have one sitting at each body of water because lifeguards get hurt when they move them. So again, just those kind of things, you think about, well, there's already $10,000 that we don't have a choice, or, as a community, we have to have those amenities, which they're great. They help folks that are disabled get in the pool, but you don't have a choice on those kind of things.
Yeah, we will be ADA compliant. David's going to ensure that that happens. Thank you. Christine Fisher is in the back there. Christine is our resident grant writer in Woodland Park, probably the most experienced professional grant writer we have in town. She has volunteered to help us on some of the more difficult grants. Christine.
Thank you for that. By the way, I'm very excited to work with the group on this project. I just wanted to ask, I've heard you guys mention the word membership a couple of times. Can you just give a definition? Because I think that means a lot of things to a lot of people, and I just want that to be clear.
Yeah,
I don't use that word because it implies kind of like a country club membership. That's not the intent. There will be rate schedules and rate programs for daily use, monthly pass, a family pass. We'll have those. And so I think when the term member is used, it's for those who may have more than a day pass, but there will be that process. There won't be membership in that strict use of that word.
Will it be resident, non-resident, for those of us that live in Woodland Park?
The question is, will there be a non-resident rate? Revenue, and only about half of our sales tax revenue comes from people that live inside the city limits. Another 40% comes from those who live in our region, and about 10% comes from those who are just passing through. So to charge someone who lives in Westwood Lakes a higher fee than someone who lives in Sunnywood 5, I just don't think that's the correct approach. The council can, of course, direct me to do otherwise, but I would encourage them to keep the fee structure exactly the same for residents or visitors alike. The argument that some might make for that is, well, our residents pay property tax, and yes, there's a property tax component that's going to pay for this. It's a small part of this whole debt service structure. We're about done. Actually, we are done. Unless you have other questions, we'll stick around and we can review these. Hang on just one second. Go ahead, Cindy.
I just wanted to let everyone know that on the city website, there's
Facebook page as well.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Stick around and ask questions if you like.
Jane?